Greetings and welcome to Crafting with Ori. Today's craft is a light up Day of the Dead shadow box. This craft is available at Turner Community Library. If you are viewing this after the craft kit was available, you can purchase all of the items either online or at your local craft store. The list of items is in the description below. Included with your kit is a printout of candles and pan de muerto, which is bread of the dead. You can download this template from our online calendar for date October 23rd, 2024. Lastly, you can use a picture of your past loved one for this craft. Take apart the shadow box. I used the white sheet that was included in the shadow box. Now you can choose a piece of paper to glue down as your background. Elmer's glue works the best, and then you'll want to cut off the excess. Once you have your background glued down, cut out any of the pieces that you need so that they can be used for this shadow box. This video is to inspire you to make your own version of this shadow box. Craft along with me as I talk about Dia de los Muertos or Day of the Dead. This shadow box is meant to be a miniature version of Mexican ofrendas or offerings. There are many components to make an ofrenda for Day of the Dead. The goods used for the ofrenda are meant to be shared with the dead. Commonly used items are pan de muerto, bread of the dead, incense, water, salt, fruit, culinary delicacies, and for adults, wine. Some of these items are customizable. Another food item that is commonly placed is corn. This is meant as a tribute to the ancestors that helped with the course of the harvest. In addition, if you have an object that the loved one liked, you can include it. For example, if it is meant to honor a child, the esquiple toy dog would be placed too. An adult might get their favorite accessories they were known to carry in addition to the food. Altars always have a picture of the person, people, or pets that it is dedicated to. This box is dedicated to the family dog Jacob. He was a very good dog and lived to be 11. He sadly passed away this year. He was named after Jacob from Twilight, although I chose to believe that he was named after Jake from Adventure Time, since I would always call him Jake. On to the other items used in altars and their meanings. Candles are placed on the altar to light a path for the souls to follow. The belief is that the souls are in the underworld in the darkness and they use the light from the candles to travel to the living world. So the candles work sort of like a lighthouse. The candles are commonly placed in a row leading towards the altar. I decided to layer the different papers behind the picture of Jake so that it would give it more visual interest. The picture that I chose for Jake, I didn't like the background, so I just decided to cut him out. Since my picture is a lot smaller than the frame, I want to place it first and then decorate around it, so that's what I'm going to do next. Okay, so pan de muerto, or bread of the dead, is a food offering for the dead. Most have a cross on top to signify death. The cross is sometimes made to look like bones and topped with a knot to signify the skull. But this festive bread is not only for the dead. It can and should be eaten during the season, as it is the only time it is widely available. Pan de muerto is very delicious and pairs well with hot chocolate or coffee. It has a faint citrus flavor that is usually orange. It is usually topped with sugar, and the bread has a delightful sweetness. It is not cake-like, it has the texture of bread. Mexican bakeries usually have this item available during October, leading up to the Day of the Dead. When I was little, I asked my mom why food was important in the ofrenda. She said it is to feed the souls when they arrive to visit. We always made sure that our ofrenda has a cup of black coffee and Coca-Cola because they were for my grandmother and her aunt. They loved these items. One of the most famous items used in the ofrenda is the sugar skull. They are also known as calaveras or calacas. The word calaca comes from the Nahuatl word calaquian, which means skull mask. They are used to represent death and rebirth. The calavera is an important symbol for indigenous cultures because it is a physical representation of the underworld, although they are not meant to evoke sadness. They are festive, playful, colorful. They represent the belief that there is a continuation of life after death. We would take a plain sugar skull and decorate it so that it represents someone on the altar. These skulls are not always made of sugar, some are made out of paper mache. What most people know as sugar skulls are not typically what they look like in Mexico. This is a sugar skull that everybody knows, and this is a sugar skull that is made in Mexico. According to the official Mexican government website, in Mexico you can get skulls made from sugar, chocolate, and amaranto, also known as amaranth. The materials used are believed to have Mesoamerican origins. For example, the Aztecs would make figures out of amaranth mixed with honey. These figures were used as offerings for their gods. When the Spanish arrived, they introduced sugar, so it became another tool for them to use, hence the creation of the sugar skulls. In fact, sugar skulls are made by a liquid sugar mixture that is poured into a skull mold. Typically, the mold is made from barro, or clay. The chocolate ones are also made similarly. Every region has a different ingredient combination. Their use in altars comes from the sompantli altar, which was a type of altar that was adorned by skulls in remembrance to those that passed. An altar is not complete without flowers. The ones that are typically used to adorn altars have special meanings, beginning with the cempasúchil, the Aztec marigold, commonly known as just marigolds. Cempasúchil is translated from the original Nahuatl into 20 flowers or flower of 400 petals, and is important to la muerte, or death. They are used for their intense yellow color and their fragrance. Many altars have paths made from the cempasúchil petals to help guide the souls. They are believed to help the spirits leave happy after visiting their altar. Another important flower used is baby's breath, for its color, as it signifies purity and tenderness, meant to follow the souls of the children. The last flower I will mention is the chrysanthemums, or the mums. They are used with and in place of marigolds. By the way, if you're having trouble with the hot glue sticking to your frame, make sure to use a little bit of sandpaper and just lightly sand the surface before applying the glue, and it should adhere much better. Dia de los Muertos is meant to be the one day a year that loved ones can pass over from the land of the dead to the land of the living. They will often go and visit their own grave and then go to any other altars made for them. One of my memories from Day of the Dead was my mom and my brother and I would go to the graveyard and go and clean up our loved ones' graves. We would decorate them with flowers and make sure that their graves looked beautiful. That was to show respect for them. Like when you have company coming over and you clean up really well. That's basically what we were doing for our loved one, since we were expecting them to come and visit. The portraits are so that you don't forget what everybody looked like and you don't forget about them. Mostly everyone wants to be remembered for their best times. So you would try to find the best picture you can find of them to put onto the altar so that you can tell stories about their lives, make sure that their legacy lives on through their stories and their experiences. I like to add layers and layers of things, so definitely don't be afraid to do something different than what I did. The stickers that I applied to the background have spirit guides, or alebrijes. Alebrijes are depicted in the 20-day cycle of the Zapotec calendar. The alebrijes were invented by Pedro Linares in 1936. Since he was a paper mache artist, the original alebrijes were made from paper mache. One of the most famous artists is Jose Guadalupe Posada for his political cartoons and his political prints. One of the most famous that he made was La Calavera Catrina, a female skeleton with a flowery hat. If you are interested in any of these topics, please head over to your local library and ask questions so that we can get you the proper resources to research and dive into this topic. Here I tried to use the glue gun for the sequins, but I found that using the Elmer's glue was a lot easier. Once I was satisfied with the background, I basically took the frame and I tested it to see what it looked like, and I tested also how some of the outside elements would look before gluing everything down. At this point, I am reinforcing any places that need more glue and just trying to prepare everything for the final step, which is putting on the lights. The stamp can be used for many things. You can use it for the background, you can use it for the sides, any places that you would just like to fill up with a pattern. That is what it looks like. So on to installing the lights. These lights are battery powered. You'll need to first take off the tab so you can test how the lights function. Then you will have to unravel the lights because they are coiled together. As I unraveled and I straightened them out, I recoiled onto like one of my fingers so that I had smaller coils to work with. Once I got to the end of recoiling everything, I chose a spot for the wire to exit out of the frame so that we can have access to turn on and off the switch. And then I glued that down to one of the corners, making sure it was the thinnest part of the wire and not the thicker portion of the wire that is covered in plastic. Once I secured that, then I slowly stretched out the rest of the coils until I was able to get it through the rest of the frame. And once I got the other end to where I wanted it to end, I put down some hot glue and I stuck it down. From then, it's just distributing all of the lights in between all the places and the crevices that you wanted it. Once you're happy with how it's going to look, start gluing down. It's easiest to glue down on the actual light bulbs itself than it is onto the wire. Be careful because it is hot glue and you are touching it really close, so you might burn yourself. Turn the frame so it is easier to reach all of the places that you need to glue. When you're finished, turn your frame to the correct orientation before placing your back piece on it. This could take some time, so be patient, and then add your final backing piece onto it, making sure that it is turned the correct way. We will glue the battery pack to the back of the frame now, and make sure that the screws are facing towards you so that you can access it and replace the battery. This part is optional. You can take all the pieces that you didn't use inside the frame and glue them onto the outside of the frame. So after gluing down and putting in the final touches, this is what the box looks like with the lights on and when I turn the lights off. Hopefully you enjoyed hearing about Dia de los Muertos, and thank you for crafting with me, and let me know if you try this at home. Thanks. Bye.